Greetings and salutations and welcome to Illegitimate Legends, the show where I like to talk about some of the more unusual League of Legends builds. And this is the moment you've all been waiting for. With the new item changes, I have decided to redo some of the older builds. In particular, this week I am redoing AP Nasus because it is my favourite build. Of all the builds I've come up with, it's the one that I enjoy the most. And it's the one that I found was the most underappreciated by the LoL community. I received a lot of hate for this build. And so I'm going to talk about what's changed with it, and I'm going to talk about why it works in the fullest of detail. So, let's be systematic about this. Let's start with the early game laning phase. Early game laning phase as AP Nasus is very simple. You buy Amplifying Tome as your first item, get Spirit Fire as your first ability, bring a potion of your choice if you want. In fact, it's highly recommended because not taking potions is just silly. But then, when you get into lane, your role in the lane is to use Spirit Fire to harass your opponent. Worry about farming only when you're out of danger yourself. Get rid of your enemy. Because Spirit Fire deals a lot of damage in a massive AoE, and because of the massive AoE, it has an effective massive range. You can easily, and I mean really, really easily, get rid of an opponent outright. Prevent them from joining, from staying in the lane, because they can't risk dying to you. Yeah, you won't get too many kills. A bad player will die against you, but a good one will return to base and then come back. But you do that twice to them, and if you stay in the lane, which you can very easily do as Nasus, you've got 2-3 levels ahead of them, and then they can't possibly beat you in a fight. Once you're 2 levels ahead of your opponent, what are they going to do to you? Granted, it is weak to champions with a close and a crowd control, and certain champions with just a crowd control can beat you in one-on-one engagements. But for the majority of champions, you can win that one-on-one fight up top, one-on-one fight in middle, simply by removing them from the lane. Forcing them to avoid getting last hits, because if they try and get last hits, you're going to punish them ridiculously for it. Every single time they go for a last hit, you want to be burning them. On into the mid-game. Okay, so you've harassed them out of the lane 2 or 3 times. You've got a significant advantage against your particular opponent. And because you win the game by pushing towers, you've taken out their tower. Yours is still on close to full health. What do you do then? You don't so much gank, but you support your team. You can, of course, go in for a gank using Exhaust and Spirit Fire, Wither and Spirit Fire. And you can assist your team wherever you can, but mostly it's about getting minion farm and helping pushes. Team fights aren't so big a deal at this point because you're a bit early for full-on 5-man each team fights. But in the area before that's happening, you want to be all over the place, saving your own towers, pushing enemy towers, because that's what this build excels at. Then, toward the late game, now this is where you start to pan out. You reach a limit. AP Nasus isn't as strong as it used to be. That's due to the changes in one item being Lichbane. Because of these changes, you don't have the same endgame that you used to. You will be not as strong, and your best power is now your only power, and that's your ability to harass the enemy from a distance. Spirit Fire is an amazing damage ability. So, try to combine your team's crowd controls with your Spirit Fire to try and burn the opponents. You want to stop them being able to call for a team fight, to push out and start the actual engagement by forcing them into low health. It's what you can do. You're also really good at destroying minions at this point, so pushing towers becomes a breeze with you backing it up. And Siphoning Strike means you can deal a lot of damage to the towers, but in an all-out team fight, if you get remotely focused, you will die. It's a pure AP build, you don't have very much health at all, your ultimate can only save you for so long. Yes, it makes you deal 12% of their maximum health in magic damage every second with this finished build, but most people should be able to survive that long enough to destroy you. So, at that point, you're weak, which is why it's very important, and I cannot stress this enough, to, in the early game, get your opponent out of the lane. If you're in bottom lane, acting as either support or AD carry, which, why would you be AD carry? If you're in the bottom lane, still do it. Get rid of both of them. If you can catch both of them in the AoE 2-3 times, they have to camp the tower. And you can still hit them if they're anywhere on the front side of the tower with Spirit Fire without taking a hit. Because of the short time between casting it and it detonating, you should be able to get out of tower range with ease. That's just the nature of the build. It's a very early game, powerful build. You can be beaten, you can easily be ganked, which is why I thoroughly recommend ranking Wither, because that's the closest you have to a crowd control. Make sure you get the advantage, and then push that advantage for all it's worth, and you can get some very easy wins. If you don't push that advantage, the end game's not going to be nice. Item order. Very, very important. Well, not really. But I recommend starting with an Amplifying Tome into Cage's lucky pick first time you be. You should also, if you've been playing really well, be able to get boots at the first B, but if not, get them second or third. These are sorcerer shoes, because magic damage. Why not? Then straight into a Rabadon's Death Cap, because that damage jump is enormous. Follow that up with a Rylaze and Liandry's Torment. I can't say for certain, but I believe the bonus effect of Liandry's Torment, it having increased effectiveness on people with impaired movement, will apply if they're slowed from Rylaze. So get both of them. Rylaze first because it's more health and more useful. Deathfire Grasp finishes off the items, and then turn that Cage's lucky pick into a Morellonomicon, or into the AP item of your choice. And really, there's enough AP items that you'll be able to find something that you like. But that gives you a very, very powerful AP build. It means that you've got about 700 AP. Spirit Fire has a more than 1-to-1 AP ratio if they stand in it for the full duration. With 700 AP, that's total F-ton of damage. Now you will notice I haven't put Lichbane in there. There is a reason for this. Lichbane forces you to cap out your power completely. Nasus has an infinite power ability, Siphoning Strike. It gets stronger the more you use it to get kills. With the new Lichbane, the damage from the Lichbane applies first and is usually sufficient to one-shot the minion you're fighting. That means that your Spirit Fire isn't, or not your Spirit Fire, your Siphoning Strike isn't getting the last hit, and you prevent yourself from ever increasing its damage output. Sure, you increase the damage you can do to champions because it's Siphoning Strike. With a Lichbane, you deal a lot of damage, but you can no longer do the massive tower hits that you used to. and you've effectively lost the ability to get stronger over time. Which is a very, very... I find it a very disappointing change, but what can you do? This build still works, not as powerful as it used to be. It won't win every single game, but it should win most of them if you play it correctly. If you seem to think it doesn't work, I will refer you to, well, the fact that I don't lose often with this build. Come at me, bro. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all sometime after the New Year's, because it's Christmas and I'd like to spend some time with my family. Thank you all, and good night. Swap Leandry's Torment for Lichbane.
Now this is how it's supposed to go.
Yes. Hush. Hush like a pregnant woman, we will have a winning baby.